everybody, it's Alyce-Kay Ruckelshaus from Threshold of Hineni, and I just wanted to do a video today with the Floriculture digikit that I'm using for a journal. The digikit is from MelodiMade.com, and I will link it down below. And I'm just going to make some very simple pockets today. They'll get a little bit more complicated as we go through the video, but each one is going to be really simple. So if you're brand new to this, I don't think that you'll have any problem doing these particular pockets. In fact, I'm trying to keep this whole journal fairly simple. All right, so I'm going to set my journal aside for now. I've gathered some materials that I think that I'll be using. I'm kind of making it up as I go because that's kind of how I do it. I did do some prep work ahead of time so that you don't have to watch me do a ton of inking, but I left the first pocket uninked so that we can completely do that. Okay, so I'm going to be using my sewing machine for a lot of this, but any place where I sew, you really could just use glue. I just prefer to sew. I think that zigzagging adds more texture to it, and to me it feels like it strengthens it, although some people say that sewing on the paper is going to weaken it. So it's just kind of whatever you think, I guess. So what I did, all of these pockets are made with one of the pages that is included in the kit. It looks kind of marbly, but what it is she eco-dyed some paper, which is a pretty complicated process, so I'm not even going to talk about that here. But you can look it up on YouTube. There are lots of videos that show you how to do it, and this particular one has a little bit of a leaf at the bottom that you can see. Okay, and what I did was I reduced those in Google Docs, and then I changed the colors. So you're going to see various colors, but this is all the same. This background for each of the pockets, except for one of them, is all the same as this one page that was in the digital kit. So you can reduce those and make them whatever size you want. In Google Docs, you can change the colors really easily, and I'll be showing that in another video, possibly in the fall. You can leave the colors as they are if you want. I just, as I've mentioned, I like to have really vivid colors. Okay, and then the other one that I used is the page that has the rose on it. And again, I reduced the size and played around with the colors, so I have a few different colors of that same page reduced for these pockets. Okay, so this is all just using those two pages, and then I'll use some of the trim from her kit, some of my own trims, and one pocket will have a different background. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this one, I went ahead and cut it out and I trimmed the corners off. If you don't feel comfortable trimming your corners, you can always use a credit card that you've cut a corner off of and just take that along, an old credit card obviously. Just take that to each corner so that you cut each of them the same. As you do it more and more, you're going to get so that you can just eyeball it and do it. Okay, so this one's going to be really easy. What I want to do is I'm going to zigzag all the way around this. I'm not going to sew it into the book. I'm going to glue it into the book, but I'm going to sew all the way around it just to trim it out. And then I'm going to add this rose to it, and I'm probably going to put it at a diagonal. I kind of like that. Okay, and then this will be probably a top tuck pocket. We'll decide that though when we put it in the book. So for now, I'm just going to zigzag all the way around the edges. Okay. Sometimes I just whiz around the corners, and other times I stop my machine so that I can get it to be a little bit more precise. Today I'm just feeling a little more precise. And also you'll notice on most of these prints that there's lines running through them. That's because I need to do maintenance on my printer. But I decided, since this journal's for myself and I really don't mind those lines, I'm just going to go ahead and use this. So one thing that's important, especially if you want to sell your journals, or if you feel really, like you don't like to have the lines in pictures and stuff, since you're doing a lot of printing, you want to make sure that you keep maintaining your printer. Mine is an Epson with, what are they called? Ink reservoirs. I love it because the ink lasts for a really, really long time. I just add ink to the reservoirs from these bottles that you get of ink. And then probably about every week or 2 weeks, I need to do a little maintenance on it. And today's the day that I would normally do the maintenance, but I printed before doing maintenance, which was kind of dumb. So the maintenance I have to do is just tell the computer on the printer to clean the heads and the nozzles, and then I just, run a check on it to make sure that everything's going fine, and then it prints beautifully. So I'll link that printer in case you're interested in finding a good printer, because I really, really like mine. And other people who are junk journalists have often said that they use that same printer and they're really happy with it. We got the inexpensive version of it, and I think it was Lindsay Zenor who said that she recently got the more expensive one and she likes the cheaper one better. So I'm really happy with this anyway. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I could put it on straight like this, but just my personality, I like to make them crooked. And right at this moment, I'm trying to decide whether I want to also make this into a pocket so that something small could be stuck in here. So while I'm deciding that, I'm going to go ahead and ink these. I inked the edges of all the other pockets that we're going to do, but I wanted to leave one that I could ink with you all. You could do this before you sew if you're sewing, or you can do it after. I usually do it before I sew, but it doesn't really matter. And in some ways the edges will stay stiffer for you if you've already zigzagged them. It just makes them sturdier, I think. But again, you don't need to sew. You can just glue, and you can skip that whole sewing step that I just did if you want. Okay, so that's one that's been distressed with ink, and now I'm going to do another here. So this is the larger pocket. And it's just really easy. I'm wiping not quite just right on the side. I'm going from the top. And the flatter you make it when you're inking it, the more the ink will bleed into the paper, depending on how much you want it to bleed in. If you're really going for a vintage look, then every once in a while you want to give it kind of a sweep onto it to get more of the ink on it. And otherwise, like I'm going for kind of a vintagey look, but not super vintagey. Mainly what I'm trying to do by inking the edges is outline it and make it so it's going to stand out more from the background paper that I'm putting it on. Okay, so I think I am going to leave the top of this rose paper. I'm going to leave that open so that I can use that as a pocket as well as this. Or I should do it with this hand so I'm not covering it up. I'm going to leave this as a pocket as well as this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sew this onto this pocket. I could glue it like I said, but I really, you're going to hear me say over and over, I just like to sew. And so that's just me. And, if I had made that decision ahead of time, then what I could have done was just zigzagged the top of the pocket where I'm not going to be sewing right now. And I could have waited to zigzag the sides until I was sewing it on like I am right now, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. Okay, my sewing machine cuts off my threads, but it leaves it hanging like this, which is what I like. I could trim that right up to it if I wanted to, but I like the shabby chic look of all these threads hanging. So what we have right now, I don't really have a stiff piece of paper to show you, but we have a pocket right here, and then when I glue this into the book, I'll have another pocket right there. Okay, so I'm not gluing stuff into the book right now, and I don't know if we will today or not. Okay, so the next pocket that I was thinking about, and again, I'm still deciding as I go, I think this is going to be vertical. So we're going to have it going up. Which way do I like the best? I think I like it with the dark at the top. And then the rose. That's one of the things I like about this kit is that most of the pages you really could use either vertically or horizontally. And on Google Docs, you can turn them too so that they're kind of diagonal, which I did with one of the things that we'll be looking at later. Okay, so I want to include some of this trim on here. I really like this lace trim. This is one of the thin lace trims that's in the kit. Just paper, you know, but it's like a scan of lace. And so I want to include that in here. And I think I'm going to do it like, I think I'm going to put the rose on top of it like that. Okay, so I want to cut just the amount of the trim that I need. I'm not sure if I'm going to ink around the trim or not. Decide here. I think I'll at least ink the ends, and then that will give me an idea of what it would look like if I ink the sides. I want to ink the ends since the end of the other piece of paper is inked. And yeah, I think I will just go ahead and ink the whole thing. I'm using an applicator for the ink that comes with, well, it doesn't come with the ink, but it's sold by Ranger, which is Tim Holtz. And I like this. I've seen people use makeup applicators as well, which might be less expensive. I don't know. But I like the handle and everything, so that works really well for me. I think I'm going to go ahead and use some of the ink on the lace just to make it a little bit more brown. And I'm just very softly doing that, and I don't mind the ink getting on this background pocket some. In fact, I think I'm going to put a little bit on there, and it might help to cover some of those lines. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, I don't want to put too much on there because I don't want to take away the contrast. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so here I have this trim. Now, since this trim is so narrow, I don't really want to sew it on, because if I sew it on, I'm going to obscure the lace look. So I'm going to go ahead and use my glue. I'm using Crafter's Pick Ultimate, and I keep mine set upside down in a ball of twine, which the twine is all coming apart. I need to rewind that. But it just helps it so that it doesn't take so long to get it flowing. I was having problems when it was brand new getting it to flow. Sometimes you have to kind of pick some of the glue off the end that might be covering that. This time I don't really need to. And this comes out pretty thick. Yeah, I'm saying as it's not coming out at all. It comes out pretty thick. So I kind of run the nozzle through it. Oh, great. I keep some cosmetic pads on hand to just clean up with. I kind of run the nozzle through it to kind of flatten it some so that it doesn't get all goopy and, you know, make lumps in it when I put it down. And then it doesn't dry super fast. It does dry faster than a lot of glues, so you do want to work somewhat quickly, and it's nice that it does dry fast, but it doesn't dry so fast that you don't have time to readjust if you don't put it where you want it. So I really am happy with this glue, and it works on fabric as well as paper, so that's just really nice. Okay, and then I want to put this rose, I think I'm going to do it like that. Does that look good? Okay, and actually I think I might just go ahead and have it go right up against the edge here. Okay, I'm not going to make this one into another pocket. It's just going to be, I think it's going to be a side pocket, actually, coming from the side like that. So, and I've got wet glue under there that's not dry yet, so I don't really want to run it through my sewing machine. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this pocket, this piece on, and the rose is not going to be made into another pocket. So I'm just going to glue all the way around the edge. Not right up to the edge, because when I put it down, I'll push the glue out towards the edge, and it'll get all the way to the edge that way, but hopefully not leak all over the pocket. If it does, one of the things that's nice about this glue is that it goes on white, but it dries clear. Okay, so I am going to leave just a little bit of a border there. Oops, let's move it this way a little bit more. See how I can still adjust? I like that because some of the glues that you'll find you can't make any adjustments. Once you touch those two pieces together, you can't move anything, and that's just awful because I make too many. I don't get it perfect just, you know, at the first try, so I always need another chance. So there we've got two pockets done. We've got that one, and we've got this one. This one's glued, and this one is sewn, and you can kind of see the difference and decide what you like the best, what you want to do personally on yours. Okay, I'm going to put that glue back in the twine. Okay, then I've got this rose. That's the same rose, the same paper, and I fussy cut it, which just means that I cut around following the edges of the picture. So I followed the edges of the rose, and then I also took some of my, well, I did the vintage photo ink all the way around the outside, and then I put a little bit here just to give it a little bit more dimension. And I want to use it on this. I'm probably going to add a verse to this pocket. I'm not sure. So I kind of want to make sure that I leave some space for that. I want to use this lace. I just have this little piece of lace. So I thought it would be perfect for this. It's just exactly the right size. So I'm thinking over the rose. Okay, so I'm going to put the rose that's kind of centered from top to bottom. So I'm just telling myself that so that I know where to put it. And I'm going to go ahead and use glue on this and glue that on. Okay. So the rose was kind of centered from top to bottom. There we go. Now I do want to sew the lace on, so I'm going to set this pocket aside, let the glue dry. Well, I don't know, with the lace, I'm probably not going to sew exactly where the rose is, but just in case, I want to let it dry because it's not really good for your machine to get glue in it. Get the needle pushing glue in there, so I'm going to set that aside. Okay, so then the next one that I had, I'm really not sure what I'm going to do with. I'm not sure that I like this green. I want to look through the journal and see kind of how this green goes. If it goes well enough, then I might use it. If it's just, I don't know, I think it's too, yeah, it's too chartreuse. So I'll save this to use in a different journal. I'm just going to put it aside. And I have another journal that actually has that color in it, and so I'll probably use it in there. So I'm going to do something with this. I had thought that if this, that if the rose was too green, I might just cut one of these pieces of lace trim from the kit. This one is, I printed it out really big, and use it on here. I think I might actually fussy cut that star. I kind of like that. Okay, so I'm going to leave this edge right here because we don't have the arms from the star there, and that can go up against the edge of the pocket. So I'm going to fussy cut on this and just cut out that lace star. Okay, so I can set that aside, and I can set aside the rest of this trim from the other one. And I'm just going to cut across here for now, just so I can get rid of this extra stuff. Okay, so I'm not like really fussy cutting against every little tiny stitch. I'm just getting the basic gist of it, so I can get the shape of the star. I think that's really pretty. I love hand embroidered, I'm not hand embroidered, hand crocheted stuff. I've made, well, one big doily, let's just say that. I think I did a few small ones too, but they didn't turn out real great. But I made one big doily that I was really pleased with, but I'll tell you what, there's hours and hours of work that goes into that, and it just makes me appreciate doilies even more. When I see one in a thrift shop, I get them simply because I know that a lot of work has gone into them and I want to kind of preserve that. Okay, so I think I want to ink that up some. I'm going to ink the edges first just to make it more defined. Okay, it's kind of like putting on makeup, you know. You can contour. And I actually just recently bought a set of makeup brushes specifically to use with the ink. I've seen people use makeup sponges. I haven't seen them use brushes, but I'm thinking, no, I think you could do a lot more with the brushes. Not the same things that you could do with the sponges. I think I still need the sponges, but I think there are things that I can do with the brushes. So I'll experiment with that some and then I'll show you all if that turns out good or if I just go, whoop, nope, I think I'll use these for something else. Okay, and then I'm going to put some ink on the lace itself there. Okay. Just to give it a little bit of an older look and also to help it to blend in more with my colors. I mean, I do want it to be a contrast, but not that much. And I'm getting some ink on the background pocket, and that's okay. Otherwise I would have turned it over. Okay. So that gives it a little bit more of a grungy look that I like. And I'm going to put that on there. And again, I think I'm going to glue rather than sewing that. I don't feel like doing a bunch of detailed turns on camera because I just know I would blow it while I'm being recorded. That's no fun. So I'm going to glue this on. Okay. All right, so just used some of that there. And I don't know if I want to do this or not. I might put something right in the center of that. It just feels like it needs a little bit more dimension or something. So I'm going to look and see if I have a button. My husband has like millions of buttons and I just get out a few at a time. Sometimes I'll go over to where the buttons are and I'll choose something that's kind of pretty. But generally I stick with what I've got in my little box here. No, I like the darker one. Let's try this. No. No. My husband makes sweaters, so that's why he has a lot of buttons. Probably more than any woman I know. And I know some of us women really, really love buttons. Oh, I kind of like that. It doesn't have as much contrast, but it's kind of cute. It's at the top of it. I think so. That's kind of pretty, isn't it? Okay, so I could just glue that on there, or I could use some yarn or twine. Let's see, I have some of this yarn of his that I really like. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just do like a little bow to go on top of it. You just kind of make it up as you go, at least I do. It's hard for me to plan these things very far ahead of time. And I might try something and go, nope, that didn't work. Okay, so I'm going to trim off the ends. Where's my fabric scissors? Uh-oh. Oh, there they are. Okay, so I'm going to trim off the ends of the yarn and put that little bow. Wouldn't that be cute? Okay, I like that. I really like that. So let's get some glue and we'll put down the button first. And this button's pretty flat, so it's not going to make it difficult to write in the journal until you get like to the page right before it, or maybe 2 pages before. So I'll keep a piece of cardboard with the journal so that I can put it between the pages if I need to make it easier to write on the pages before that. Look at that, isn't that cute? Okay, this is super, super simple. You saw how easy it was. Okay, and it only took a few minutes to do, so that's really easy. Okay, we're almost to half an hour, and I'm kind of trying to keep this to under half an hour. So what was I going to do on this? Was there something I was going to do on this? Maybe just sew around the edges? No, it was this one here that I put aside. Oh, I think I was going to put lace on it. That's what it was. Okay, so I think I'll go ahead and sew. This is coffee dyed lace. I get a whole bunch of lace trim at once, and I coffee dye some of it, and some of it I don't. So let's just sew the edge of this lace on here. It's the end of that roll of lace. And again, I'm just zigzagging it on. And I don't worry about being super perfectly neat. You can if you want. You know, there's nothing wrong with being neat in a junk journal. It's just not my style. One of the things that I like about junk journals is not having to be neat. Not having to be a perfectionist. I can just kind of check that at the door and not have to worry about it being perfect, which is just kind of a relief for me. Okay, so I sewed the sides of the lace just so that it wouldn't flop down. Okay, so I like that. That's cute. And then I might put a verse on it. I'm not really sure yet what I'm going to do with that. I think I want to... Is that dry? That's not dry yet, so I'll do that in a different video. I might not do it in a video. I might just go ahead and sew all the way around the edge of this with cross stitch. I mean, not cross stitch, with zigzag, just to give it a little bit more body and texture, because I like that. And I'll probably do that off camera. But I'll wait to put these into the journal until the next video, and I have at least one more pocket that I want to make to go in the journal that's in this simple set. I have some that are a little bit harder that we'll do in another video, but let's just finish this simple set first. So I love you all. I will see you probably tomorrow. Bye-bye.